Welcome to Better Returns, where you will learn how to escape the volatility of the stock market by passively investing in real estate like a pro. 90% of millionaires earned and maintain their wealth by investing in real estate. We will share real-life examples from savvy investors so you can do the same. This show is for educational purposes only and should not be considered legal, tax, or investment advice. During a road trip in high school, he once slept underneath the van they were driving to keep warm. Your host and my dad, Matt Hansen.
Welcome back to the show. I'm happy to have Sam Wilson with us today. Sam is an active and passive investor in nearly every commercial real estate asset class. He's the founder of Bricken Investment Group, a real estate investment firm, and Sam is now focused on RV resort investments. He also hosts the wildly successful podcast, How to Scale Commercial Real Estate, with over 700 episodes. Check it out. It's very good. Actually, he had me on a guest on the show not long ago, but it is an excellent show. I strongly recommend checking it out. Well, welcome, Sam. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in real estate. What's your origin story?
That's a funny question. I tell this one, and I'll try to keep it brief. I grew up in the trades. My family grew up in the trades. None of us we're in a family that went to school, grew up fairly poor. My brother and I owned a flooring company, and we actually grew that through my mid-20s into a pretty successful business. I sold it when I was 30. But here I am with no education, 30-year-old male. Like, I have no experience except for working for myself. I'm completely unemployable, right? And I really don't know what to do next in life because all I've done is the trade. So a guy that's owned a flooring company and had 30 guys working for him installing, residential and commercial flooring his whole life, suddenly needs to go find a new career. Yeah, didn't know what to do next. So I panicked, made a lot of mistakes. I had time and money on my hands. Didn't get into trouble, just made some dumb moves. Short story is, one day I'd moved to Tennessee with my wife, which is where she was from. Head south, it's a great place to be, and was looking at foreclosure listings. This is back in 2013, so I was just drinking my coffee, looking at foreclosure listings, and they happened to have a listing, and they happened to have a listing a couple hours. The auction was 2 hours away. I saw the house. It was a mile from my house. Drove over, looked at it. It was knee deep in trash. I found a way into it because it was unoccupied. Don't tell anybody. But I found my way into it and walked through it. And I was like, hey, from the trades, I understood housing. I understood kind of the construction process. It didn't take me long to kind of back the napkin, figure out what's it going to cost to make this place whole again. Went to the auction. Actually, I went home and I said to my wife, I said, hey, you mind if I buy a house today? We hadn't talked about this before. That's all I said. You mind if I buy a house today? She goes, no. 2 hours later, I owned a house and we made a pile of money on it. Right. And I said, well, shoot, I did it once. I'll just keep doing it. So therein was the rest of my career in real estate born there, drinking coffee one morning. And I had no plans prior to that of ever getting into real estate. And it just took off. And that's all we did for 5 years was just buy tons and tons of houses at foreclosure auctions and figured that process out. And, we've gone through every iteration since then. Of different asset classes, different types, what to buy, different strategies, rental portfolios. I mean, I've done the mix of shiny object syndrome and also just trying different methods out, and that's led us all the way to today, where we have our hands in a variety of asset classes, but really on an active investor side of things, 100% focused on RV resorts here in wherever this is, November of 2022. So yeah, that's a short story, or long story short.
That's a great story. I mean, so you're an entrepreneur. You downplay the fact that, okay, now you're unemployable. But the fact is that you've been employed, you ran a successful business, you sold it, and now you've got all those skills that, okay, are valuable. Maybe not in the corporate world, but in the real world, Sam, very applicable. And you've obviously been very successful in doing that.
For sure.
So you did a lot of different things. You did the fix and flip. Sounds like you did you have some rentals then? Rental properties?
So my first rental property was because it was a fix and flip gone bad. You buy at the wrong location at the wrong time, the wrong price, and you're like, oh, I can't quite make any money on this. I guess I'll hold it as a rental. I'd never really thought about that. So yeah, owned rental portfolios and then got into creative financing and lease options and just, I still got some of those legacy things in my portfolio that they're mindless. I mean, they don't cost me any. They're just ACHs into my account because I've sold them all off, in creative structures. But Yeah, I'm cleaning those messes up over the years. I know those probably won't clean up actually another 5 or 6 years, but that's okay. So yeah, that was it. Did a bunch of those sorts of things, and then one day just said I've got to get into commercial real estate because I found that single family for me wasn't scalable.
And
And
most people discover that too at some point.
at some
Is that
point,
do you want to own 100 single family homes or 100 unit apartment? So
100
much easier. There's no comparison.
no
You know,
comparison.
and you can make a little bit more money, I think, if you own the 100 homes. But boy, there's so many more things that can go wrong. One bad HVAC or a roof replacement, you blew the profits for that house for the entire year, maybe 2 years.
For sure.
That's the challenge with doing the single family thing. So
And
you've been doing syndications then, right? So you've done syndications.
that's correct. That's all we do now.
So
That's
for what asset classes have you done syndications for?
self-storage, land development, multifamily, RV resorts, parking. I think that covers it for now.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But right now your specialty is in RV resort investments. So
It
explain
is.
that. I don't really know anybody that's big into that. So share, this is not mobile home parks, but RV parks, right?
That's correct.
So
That's
enlighten us on that. I don't know the market or industry. I don't even know anybody that's playing in that. So this is
I
great.
know, which is why I'm there.
Oh, we shouldn't be talking about it then, right?
It's a secret. Don't tell anybody. No, seriously, it is. It's a great. I was building a boat and RV storage facility last year, and in so doing my market, and that project just I've been opportunistic, as you can probably tell. A lot of these deals have actually been brought to me. It's like, hey, here's an opportunity. Do you like it? It's like, yeah, I like you, and I like the deal. I like the market. That's fun. Let's go do this. So was building a boat and RV storage facility that was brought to me last year. In so doing my market research, I discovered that the RV and RV resort industry, one, was on a strong uptick pre-pandemic. Of course, the pandemic just threw gasoline on a fire. So, we already had strong market demand. Pandemic happens, the outdoor hospitality space explodes. Just to give you, and while you may hear that and think, gosh, risk, right? You say, well, it exploded and now it's just going to fade back off.
Right.
But it actually hasn't happened. That taper off effect just hasn't occurred. We had 350,000 RV deliveries in 2020. We had 600,000 RV deliveries in 2021. And we'll be slightly under that. It was projected we'd hit that same number here in 2022. That number's gone down slightly, but still, think about it. You've hit almost 1.2 million new RVs in the marketplace in under 24 calendar months. Like, where do they go? Like,
Yeah. Where do they park them?
Where do they park them? Where do they store them? Where do they get them serviced? Where do they get their maintenance done? I mean, the list goes on and on. RV resorts, of course, are one of the key beneficiaries of all of this. Who was it that came out with that study? I can't remember who produced this, but it was earlier this year. I read it. 60% of RV owners are looking for a newer and bigger RV. I'm included in that 60% group. Also, the largest group of RV owners, who are they, Matt? You would have thought, well, they're north of 60, retired on a national park tour. Not so. It's millennials with kids. It's the largest group of RV owners in the country. I'm in that. I'm not a millennial, but I still own an RV and I certainly have kids, and it's a beautiful way to travel. I mean, we have a blast in it. It's like, okay, I'm not ever going to not own an RV, probably for the duration. That said, you need a place to park them, and you need a place to go, drag the kids out where they can go run and play and have a good time and build a campfire and have all your stuff right there without unpacking and moving into hotels or Airbnbs or everything else. And it's an inexpensive, or a more inexpensive, I guess the expensive part's buying the RV. So you got to be able to afford an RV, but more inexpensive way to get out and go have fun for a weekend and then come back home. So that said, the demand is there, and we see that demand carrying on. All I need is 10 good years for an investment thesis to make sense. We can't project beyond that. I don't look, to hold something for 20 or 30 years. And most of our investments are only 5 to 7 years in length anyway. So everything we see right now says, look, we should have a good 5 to, I'm sorry, you say that over. Everything we see right now says we should have a good 10-year run in the RV resort business. So what is an RV resort? It is a place where you go, it's amenity heavy. Like, you're going to go, there's going to be a water feature. Like, my requirements are, it needs to be a place that I generally want to take my family. So it needs to be a water feature, either at a lake, or there's a pool, or there's both, or there's fishing on there, or there needs to be activities, game rooms, pickleball courts, tennis courts. There needs to be firewood delivery, propane sales. There needs to be a camp store. There needs to be all these things that make it where you can pull in and then not leave. It needs to be a reason to go there. Like we bought a resort on the Truman Reservoir in Missouri earlier this year. You go to this place, there's no reason to ever leave. And that's what we want. We want to keep you in this little ecosystem of spending money. As you come to our resort where you stay at our RV park, then you park your boat in one of our slips, and then you buy bait, and then you buy fuel for your boat, and then you buy propane for your RV, and then you pay $9 a bundle for firewood, and then you go eat at the restaurant we have on site, and then your friends come and they stay in the motel that we have on site. There's a 40-room motel there. And it's just this big ecosystem that no one has to get outside of. Unlike an RV park, an RV park's an entirely different deal.
Right.
I'm not sure where you live, Matt, but my go-to example is like Interstate 70 as it runs across Kansas, the flyover states. I don't want an RV park in the middle of Kansas. Because what do? Well, you're driving from somewhere in the Midwest trying to get to the mountains, and you need to stay there for one night. You need to pull in, empty your black and gray water tanks, plug in, get some water and electricity, stay the night, and then you keep riding down the highway the next day. That's a very transactional.
Right.
And that's just not and that's very, very susceptible to gas prices. Like, where people transact or running back and forth across the country in a gas guzzler that gets 8 to 10 miles per gallon has decreased. Well, I want to be within a couple hours of a major city. So this one we bought in Missouri is 2 hours from St. Louis. It's 2 hours from Kansas City. You got all these major feeders. It's an hour from Springfield, Missouri, which is another major area. All these feeder, larger MSAs dumping into this RV resort area. Okay, cool. Then people can afford to do that on the weekend. Anyway, I'm prattling on about what a resort is versus what a park is. Hopefully that answers your question in way too many words.
Well, no, I didn't even realize it. So you're talking about a destination RV, because in my mind, it was a KOA that, I used to travel as a kid to Florida or whatever with the family, and you would stop and you stay there for one night.
Right.
But what you're talking about is an experience where it's a destination. People come there and they stay for a week or 2 weeks.
A week.
My gosh, that's
great.
And
KOA actually puts out a really nice product. And not all of theirs are just parks as well. They have resorts as well. KOA does actually a great job just as an overall product itself. But yes, you want them to stay there for a week, and going to differentiate this from mobile home parks, but yet how it's similar is that a lot of these resorts have a long-term component to it. Depends on the ownership group, of course. But there are people like the one we bought in Missouri, 50 to 60% of that park is leased on an annual basis.
What?
Yeah. But they
don't. So you don't turn over half of the lots. Don't even turn.
Right. Now, your upside lies in your, transient 3 and 4 day stays, right? Because you're going to get, $80, $100 a night, whatever it is for those stays. And maybe I'm making up numbers here. So just for argument's sake, let's say your long-term annual lease tenants, I'm going to call them tenants because they're not tenants, but let's say that theirs are $600 a month. So obviously your per night rate is much higher on your short-term stays. But for park stability and for consistency of revenue's sake, you have a long-term tenant. I'm going to use that word again, but they don't live there. They come in just like everybody else. They just leave their RV on site. So they drive their little Prius back and forth. So they're not worried about gas prices, but they leave their RV on site. It's a better class of tenant because this is a vacation home on wheels for them. They pay more for the site than what you get out of a mobile home park. So it functions like a mobile home park with a lot better economics and a lot better tenant class as well. So it's kind of a unique, and we're constantly trying to blend or figure out what the right ratio is. Like, okay, 60% long-term, 40%, how much do we, and that's on a park by resort basis that we kind of are trying to figure out that ratio. But yeah, that's kind of some of the dynamics of what we see in the RV resort space.
That's fascinating. So you baseline, or you it's your fixed income, if you will, of it. And then the higher income stuff is the people that come in just for a week or two at a time. I had no idea that was a makeup of those.
But still think about it. If you're inside the ecosystem, you still need propane. You still need fuel for your boat. You still want firewood delivered. You still need to go to the camp store and, oh man, I forgot to get whatever it is you needed for the weekend. So you're still there spending money. And it's kind of like a casino in its own right. Like they just want to keep you inside the walls.
It's a win-win. You're on vacation. You don't have to go off and travel. You can stay right there and get all your supplies. And even if you have a restaurant in a hotel, nearby, right on the same premises. That's genius.
Yeah.
Because you're right. There's always people want to visit you while you're camping. Well, here's a place for them to stay. And by the way, it's it's part of your business as well.
Right.
So what percent, just roughly, are the accessories or the amenities? Is it like 10% of your income comes from that versus the actual rental of the lot? What's the makeup of that typically?
I don't know the answer to that.
If there's a ballpark, is it a small? Is it 10%? You
No,
think?
it's got to be more than that.
Oh,
I would
really?
say probably 20. You're talking about ancillary revenue
Yeah,
stream.
yeah, exactly. That's the term.
I would say 25%
Wow.
probably. I mean, because think about it. I mean, it doesn't take that many loads of firewood at $9 a bundle. It doesn't take that many booking fees. And I know this sounds small, but at $3 to $5 per stay for booking fees. I mean, you start adding all these small things, propane sales, all that stuff up, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, this becomes a very meaningful number at the end of the day.
Right. Right. So do you ever buy, I guess it's location specific, but if you find an RV park, can you convert it into a resort? Do you do that if it's in a good location, or do you typically buy one that's kind of already there and you just enhance it? What's your business model for that?
It needs to already be there, and it
Okay, you
already
do.
needs to have the demand generators that turn it in, that kind of create it as that resort feel. So it needs to be the destination itself, needs to be the resort, or it needs to be near something, very close to near something that is the destination. So
Gotcha.
yeah, converting it probably isn't an option. What we're seeing is that it's a lot of legacy owners. So, the just operational efficiencies just aren't there. It's a mom and pop owner. They've owned it for 20 or 30 years. They don't have online booking. They don't have dynamic pricing. There's just a lot of things that, we can tweak on that end. So we don't have to create something out of nothing. They're already there at the destination.
So that's you were just going into the value add. What do you do to improve the profitability in its technology? What are the things you guys do to the
That's
property to,
that's one of the easiest is
yeah,
technology. I mean, putting in meters where we can bill back utilities. It's like
really? Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
absolutely. Think about it. If you're long-term tenants,
Yeah.
there might be a flat charge of like, well, okay, Matt, you pulled in with your Class A diesel pusher and you got 3 air conditioners that you like to run nonstop. So whatever, maybe it's $100 a month, right? That they add on for utilities. Well, now we can actually bill it at the meter, like or at your pedestal. So it's wireless meters that we can install. They're only a few $100 a site. I mean, your payback period's like a year and a half.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you can integrate all this wireless metering systems. So that's an easy one. Dynamic pricing is another one. Every park that we've bought this year has a fixed rate per night, which makes no sense to me. Like, why would you pay on March 1st the same thing you would pay on July 4th? Or
Exactly.
you're slammed. Like you have no room, no capacity. You should be at 2 or 3 times the rate. So dynamic pricing, adding in dynamic pricing models like Airbnb or the airlines,
Yep,
hotels, you name it.
exactly.
Online booking. I know it sounds cheap, but it really is. Like it's not that hard to add online booking. The number we bought a park this year. You had to email a Hotmail email address to request a site. Really? Like and wait.
Hotmail, really?
It was Hotmail. Email 1234 Matt at whatever hotmail.com. And you're like, and I gotta wait 48 hours for you to reply to me? Are you kidding me? This is, I mean, it's worked for them. They're busy, they're making enough money. There's no, if it ain't broke, don't fix it idea. But those are small, like relatively inexpensive ways that we can meaningfully, dynamic pricing alone, we estimate brings 10% to the bottom line.
Wow.
Yeah. And so without going through humongous capital expenditures, we can meaningfully change the way a park operates. And then speaking of CapEx, here's another part of your value add is that, again, for legacy owners, and nothing against them, they've done some really cool things with some of these cool parks. They just need a new set of owners to kind of bring a new set of life to it, or a new life to the project. Where was I going with that? We were talking about CapEx. So when you think about it as a mom and pop owner, it's like, okay, well, we need to add, because we're full for the season. Let's say that. Well, we need to add 30 or 50 sites. Well, let's say it's 20 grand a site, on average to put in a new RV pad. Well, okay, well, it's 30 sites. Then that's 600 grand. That's a lot of money to mom and pop. Like, well, we got to get a bank loan. We got to think about getting that done. And then that sounds like work. Let's just leave it alone. Every park we've bought this year, we are adding sites to because they're full.
Oh my God.
And they
That's so
just
great.
haven't done it. I mean,
Yeah.
we bought one park that had it already had pre-approved plans. Like all the plans were permitted and approved. They're just like, well, it's going to cost us $1 million to do this, and that's a lot of money here at the end of our run, and we're not sure we want to put that into this. I'm like, that's $1 million, and you can get an extra 200 grand a year for putting those in. So, put new sites. Yeah. So it's kind of a compelling. And the other thing is that the sellers are realistic right now. I mean, we can our going in cap rates are, we're buying the one we're closing here in a few weeks is a 15 cap going in.
Oh my. See,
Yeah.
I don't know what is average for an RV. Is that good, bad? I don't
Good,
know, relative.
high singles, low doubles. I don't want to look at anything right now. Maybe I'm just greedy or just getting too used to the blue ocean that we're buying in. But anything under a 12 cap for me right now is kind of like, I don't know. And there's reasons for that. I've described some of those reasons, which is that it's operationally complex, right? Like you gotta have the systems and the people to sell firewood and propane and bait sales and boat rentals and all the nonsense that goes along with it. So there's reasons that it trades at a higher cap rate, but I think those reasons for me are compelling reasons, not discouraging reasons to get into the RV resort space.
Interesting. Okay, so now let's talk about this show's about passive investing. What does this look like for a passive investor that wants to come into one of those deals? What are the returns? What's the hold period? The typical IRR. Give me all the deets on what a deal usually looks like.
That's a good question. And I think for consistency's sake, for the passive investor, it's going to look like a lot of other real estate deals. We try to keep them where, when you look at a deal, Matt, it's not like, oh man, this is completely weird compared to what I'm used to seeing. Mm-hmm. So we do the standard 5 to 7 year hold. Your cash on cash returns, I think, are the largest thing that differentiate this from other asset classes, in that we in everything we buy are projecting double-digit cash on cash returns out of the gate. And I think that's something that you're just not going to find in necessarily a multifamily project, which we've got plenty of those, but you're just not going to find it. You're going to find your appreciation. I think that's the other thing, is that because it's such a revenue producer, you may not necessarily see the appreciation play like you do in other assets.
Okay.
So it's like, we're buying this because they're income producers, not because someday I can turn around and sell it, and just get wildly rich because it appreciated so much. I mean, it just doesn't trade at the same multiple that others, we've already talked about, other asset classes do. So that said, though, your cash on cash returns are very healthy, which means, again, if we start selling these in 5 to 7 years, your IRR will be very healthy as well. I mean, you're talking mid-20s on a lot of these deals. Which again, if you bought a multifamily project 5 years ago, you easily hit mid-20s on almost anything. Throw a dart at a board or a dart at a multifamily project 5 years ago, and you've sold, you've hit your returns. But still, even so, I think those are the two things that are most important for me as an investor. Right now, I'm a cash flow investor.
Right.
I want to buy something today that produces an income consistently for the foreseeable future. And I think that's kind of the short on the nitty gritty of what we see there. Does that answer your question? Or
that's fascinating. Yes, that is. So tell us, I know you teased me beforehand, before we started the recording, is like, you got some of the new products. Are you ready to talk about those? Some new products that you're going to be launching soon?
Yeah, I do. This is my own home cooking. So, I've got an investment thesis that I'm actually writing in my newsletter about tomorrow. And it's just kind of been crafted over the years of like, and so forgive me if I don't articulate it as well as maybe I could. Okay. I actually was supposed to write this out today because it's, again, going up my newsletter tomorrow, but I haven't gotten there yet. But it's like 3 different tiers. I want to be able to serve every demographic and every economic cycle in some meaningful way that produces a revenue. I mean, that's just basic portfolio allocation, theory, I think, is to like have everything balanced out to where, everything's going bad. Okay, you're making money over there. Everything's going great. Okay, you're making money over here. And I kind of got that same idea in business and real estate, and I'm kind of blending those. So we've got our hands, as you know, in a lot of different real estate asset classes, which those are great. Of course, we're going long in RV resorts. I'm really not looking at anything else real estate related. That said, I also own a laundry facility here in Memphis. And you say, okay, laundry facility, what's that different from a laundromat? Not much, except that we have a gigantic drop-off business. So we're fully staffed, almost 24 hours a day, loads of drop-off. People bring their laundry in for wash, dry, fold. Also have a delivery service that you order on your phone for an app. So I've got the demographic that needs a laundromat to do their laundry every week. We're positioned in an area where that does really well. So, and that's a very consistent business. As if the economy worsens, we call it coin up, though we're largely moving to credit up. It's where we're getting away from coins and moving more to loyalty cards and things like that. That business will just get better because people can afford to buy more washers. They can't, if something breaks, they can't afford to repair it. So then they go to using laundromats. And so the demographic that needs a laundromat when times are good needs a laundromat even more when times are bad. And I hate to say that because we provide an amazing product. I mean it. We're the highest rated, most reviewed laundromat in all of Memphis. Wow. Like it's got 400 and something reviews. Like it's a lot of that has to do with my wife, who is kind of the marketing guru behind it. That has made it a really cool community center. But I want to replicate that because it serves a demographic in a way that probably isn't used to being served. Like you go into our laundromat and there's reading rooms for the kids, there's libraries, there's books all the way through it. It's super clean. The lights are on all the time. Right. It's like you get greeted when you walk in the door. We're staffed. I mean, always staffed. So it's kind of a cool place to go. It's like, okay, we can replicate this. Also, the returns are sick. I mean, 30 to 40% annual cash on cash returns out of a laundry.
Wow.
Like, okay. It is it'll like the RV resort space business. It is legacy owners. It's a very fractured, there's no common ownership. Tide has started to get into it in a meaningful way, which tells you something about it. But I just see that one even just taking off as the economy worsens, that business it'll just go up. So that said, going long in that space, but that one's a cool business because it kind of serves both the demographic that needs a laundromat, but it also serves the higher end people, that want their laundry picked up and neatly folded and put in a little tidy, handy dandy bag, and we can, order it on your app and we'll do your laundry like they deliver food. Like that's, so it kind of, we can meet both of those in one business there. So that is the RV, or excuse me, the laundromat business. That's kind of a fun one. We've talked about the RV resort business, which I think will do well, maybe not as well as maybe what the laundromat will do, but I think it'll still serve its own unique demographic, even in a recession. Because people that own those RVs, they're still going to go out and use them, just maybe in a different way. The third one, this is a little out of left field, but it serves really probably the upper end. And I'm big into fitness. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud because I never was big into fitness. Like it's just not been part of my ethos, if you will. But about 3 years ago, I got involved with a fitness facility here. I've never been able to go to the gym consistently. Like it just was, my new thing is that health is wealth. Like if you don't have health, you don't have wealth. I've known some extremely wealthy people that didn't have their health. And I'm like, I don't want to be you. Like you might be almost a billionaire, but you're completely unhealthy. And that's all you got. So health is wealth. And so there is a franchise brand of fitness that has perfected, I think, the team training model, which it's got the coolest coaches, the coolest culture. Like you get in and you're like, oh, like you can bring in a group of people, like when I got involved, I didn't know anything about how to use a barbell or what weights to lift. Like, I don't know anything about this, but like you get in and suddenly you're part of this group that's a lot of fun to go work out. Like I look forward going to the gym and look forward to working out. It's easy. I don't have to think about it. My classes are pre-programmed. It's on the app. So it's a really cool franchise. I think it's very different than, it's a boutique franchise too. That's very expensive. Like I used to think going to whatever, one of the big box brands, like, man, 40 or 50 bucks a month. So I can go to this gym and there's like this sea of equipment and I walk in and I felt alone and I didn't know what to do. I thought that was expensive. Well, now I'm paying 250 bucks a month to go to the gym and I don't care because it's great. It's like, oh, this is awesome. And so there's a higher end demographic that I think in any environment that will still value their health and will still look for an opportunity to go, okay, hey, we're still going to work out. We're still going to prioritize this. And so that's kind of the upper end of, the fitness side of things. I want to serve that as well. So I'm kind of trying to piece all these together. And of course, I'm doing this a lot through strategic partnerships. But piece all this together in a meaningful way that becomes my own investment thesis that says, how can I serve every demographic in any economic cycle in a meaningful way? So that's the.
Sounds like you're doing it. That's really good. So the gym really is an experience. It's not, okay, you're going to work out at Planet Fitness. It is actually an experience. You've a camaraderie. You've developed a community, and that's what people like. So I think
That's
that,
exactly it. You walk in and we've got coaches there that are extremely knowledgeable. I mean, they're like, hey, they will make sure you don't hurt yourself, but you can bring somebody in that doesn't know anything about it and put them right next to somebody like me that's now 3.5 years in, and we both can have a workout in the same exact class and have an awesome experience doing it. And, I'm cheering them on and they're, watching. There's always somebody ahead of you and there's always somebody behind you.
right.
So it is, like you said, it's a very community experience. So we actually just signed our first franchise agreement with them and are launching one of those down in Tampa, Florida right now. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
So you're syndicating any of these things? I mean,
The
other
gym, I
than the
will. Yeah,
RV park, the
absolutely.
gym's going to be as well?
Yeah, but that's probably going to be just within the network of friends that are already at that gym. I mean, it just doesn't take, it's not a big raise. And that's also, we won't get into all that, but that's, we'll see where that goes. If that one goes as well as we project, then we'll probably start really syndicating those on a larger basis.
Yeah, you get your pilot in Tampa done and find out, you know what, you can put this in any major city that's got the right demographics.
Correct.
That's great.
You got it, man.
You are a serial entrepreneur is what you are. You know that, Sam.
I just call it being hungry, man.
Well, it's effective. It's effective. Well, we're going to wrap up here, but first we're going to do the lightning round. These are 5 fun questions just to get to know you a little bit better, Sam.
Great.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Number 1, what was your nickname as a child?
Sammy D.
What's the D stand for?
David, middle name.
Oh, it's your middle name. Okay, that rolls well. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I am a morning person. My wife has had to get used to, if we're leaving early for a road trip, I'll get up at 3:30, get in the car and just start driving. Like, let's go. Give me a cup of coffee. Let's go. So yeah, you won't find me. I am in bed most days by 7:30 at night.
Well, you get that early. Yeah, you have to.
Yeah. I can't help it. Like I haven't set an alarm clock in 15 years. No idea.
I envy you. Number 3, what would be the first thing you do if you won the lottery?
Not tell anyone. I would go completely silent, my friend. Like nothing would change. That's exactly what I would do. Absolutely. I would hire a good attorney and a good CPA that understands the nuances of those laws and say, fellas, we're going to keep this, or ladies, whoever it is, I don't care, but this is going to stay really, really quiet. So that's what I would do.
I love that approach. That's pretty good. That's really good. Number 4, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Can I do it by season? Because I've already
go ahead. You can give a couple answers.
I've already got this booked out, and it's on my mirror in my bathroom. So it's 3 places, and I rotate depending on the season. So I want to be in East Tennessee in the fall, I want to be in Florida in the winter, and I want to be in Durango, Colorado in the summer. And then I pick up the best of each of those seasons. That's my plan. It's already on my mirror.
On your vision board, huh?
That's
excellent. Love it. And then question 5, the show's called Better Returns. So what's one piece of advice you'd give to new investors to help them get better returns? The one golden nugget of any passive investing that you would give?
Spend your time with your sponsor. Don't worry about the deal. Spend 80% of the time. You can learn structure. You can learn asset classes. You can learn all those unique things. But one thing you can never change once you've gotten into a deal is the sponsor. So spend your time with your sponsor and really, really get to know them well.
Excellent advice, because you're married to that individual or team for 5 to 6 years.
At least. Yeah.
Very good. That's outstanding advice, Sam. And finally, how can people find you? If they want to learn more about all the great things you're doing and want to get involved potentially, how would they reach out to you?
Yeah, via the Bricken Investment Group. Go to brickeninvestmentgroup.com. That's Bricken, Bricken, investmentgroup.com/join. You can join our Bricken Investor Club that way. I send out a weekly newsletter where you get updated on everything we're working on. That's also where you hear about our upcoming opportunities. That is the best way to really reach out to me. Again, brickeninvestmentgroup.com/join. The other thing you can do is have a free download for your listeners if I can plug two things. Is that okay, Matt?
Go right ahead.
Awesome. The other thing is a checklist I've developed for you as a passive investor. So if you are like me and you're starting out and you don't necessarily know what it is you're interested in investing in, I would use this checklist as a funnel. It'll help you. It's called How to Vet a Deal in 10 Minutes. So go to brickeninvestmentgroup.com/checklist. I spent hours and hours and hours reviewing deals that I never invested in because it was the wrong deal for me, but I didn't know it because I didn't know what I was looking at. This will really help you define your criteria and boil that 3-hour timeline that I spent looking at way too many deals that weren't the right deal for me down to about 10 minutes. It'll help you figure out, hey, if this is the right deal for you or not. So again, brickeninvestmentgroup.com/checklist.
Outstanding. All that information will be in the show notes as well. So, well, thanks so much for being on the show, Sam. You're a wealth of knowledge. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you having me.
And that's a wrap. Really good.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to Better Returns, brought to you by Hanson Holdings. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review because it helps others discover this valuable content. If you would like to earn truly hands-off passive income, go to hansonholdings.com, where we help you invest in large apartment complexes to grow your family's wealth. See you next week with another awesome episode. Have a great day.